Before there were banks, before there were billionaires, before the word money even existed, there was trust. Human beings didn't trade numbers on a screen. They traded value they could touch, feel, and live by. A farmer exchanged his maize for a fisherman's catch. A craftsman traded tools for cloth. The economy was not written on ledgers. It lived in relationships. But then, something changed. Humanity made a deal with a devil called convenience. We created a symbol, something lighter than goats, cleaner than grain, easier than trust, a coin, and with it, we began one of the greatest experiments in human history, to see if value could exist without substance. The origin of trade. Long before Wall Street or the Nairobi Securities Exchange, villages and empires ran on the barter system. You had what I needed, I had what you wanted. It was messy, but it was honest. Value was real. You could smell it, taste it, hold it in your hands. But as societies grew, trust couldn't travel far. How do you trade a cow for a loaf of bread when the baker doesn't need beef? How do you build a city when every transaction needs perfect coincidence? Civilization needed something new, a universal promise, and that promise became money. The birth of the symbol. The first money wasn't paper, it was metal, copper, silver, gold, substances that could last. They shimmered, they weighed something, they felt eternal. In them, people saw divinity. Sun and earth fused into trade. Kingdoms began minting coins, not just for trade, but for control. The king's face on the coin meant, you live under my value system. Every market became a mirror of power, and every exchange, a quiet act of obedience. For the first time, value no longer lived in people. It lived in things, in symbols, in metal stamped by authority. The paper revolution. Then came paper, soft, light, and full of illusion. China was first. The Song dynasty printed what they called Jiaozi, a note that said, this paper equals silver. And for the first time, humanity trusted what it could not touch. We believed in representation over reality. It was revolutionary and dangerous, because when value becomes invisible, manipulation becomes easy. When the coin turned to paper and paper turned to digits, the distance between what is valuable and what is believed to be valuable became infinite. That distance, that gap between symbol and substance, is where greed was born. The African story. In Africa, money came not as innovation, but as invasion. Before colonialism, trade routes stretched from Timbuktu to Kilwa, powered by salt, beads, gold, and trust. But when the colonizer arrived, he brought with him currency and control. The rupee, the pound, the shilling. Taxes had to be paid in foreign coins, forcing Africans into a system they didn't build. Our labor became the new currency. Our land, the collateral. Our dignity, the interest. We moved from trading value to being the value traded. The psychological shift. Money, once a tool, became a god. We began worshiping numbers more than nature. A man's worth stopped being measured by his word and started being measured by his wallet. We forgot that money has no power unless we give it one. We began chasing paper instead of purpose, and that's how the symbol overtook the substance. The illusion became more important than the reality. That's how a piece of paper became worth more than a life. Part 6, the hidden truth. Here's the irony. Money was never real. It was always a story, a shared belief, a collective hallucination we all agreed to dream together. If tomorrow we stopped believing in it, the entire system would vanish. That's how fragile it is, but also how powerful belief can be, because it shows that human beings can create value from nothing. And that same imagination that built coins and currencies can also rebuild justice, equality, and possibility. So next time you touch a note or swipe a card, remember, you're not holding wealth. You're holding trust. You're holding a story that began thousands of years ago, a story that turned goats into gold, trust into trade, and faith into finance. The birth of money was the birth of illusion, but also the birth of civilization. The question now is, has that illusion evolved or enslaved us?